Imagine an artificial intelligence supercomputer that just never sleeps. Like, it's running the next generation of frontier models, and it's powered entirely by a man-made volcano hidden, 3 miles beneath the Texas desert. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Our mission today is to explore this really fascinating research notebook we've got, covering April 2024 through 2026. And it's detailing the sudden, just explosive commercialization of geothermal energy.
It really is an explosive shift.
Right. I mean,
Wow.
for most of our lives, geothermal felt like this exclusive VIP club. Like if you were a country sitting on a tectonic fault line, or you just happen to have a convenient volcano in your backyard.
Like Iceland,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, Iceland, or parts of Kenya, the Ring of Fire. If you had that, you were on the guest list. You got to tap into this incredible natural underground hot spring for clean energy. But for everyone else, the bouncer at the door just kind of pointed to the no entry sign.
What's fascinating here is the cast of characters driving this breakthrough. I mean, it wasn't driven by, strict new climate policies or government environmental mandates.
Right.
The commercial viability of modern geothermal was actually cracked wide open by two wildly unexpected, some might even say completely unlikely, allies.
And those are.
The legacy oil and gas drilling industry and hyperscale artificial intelligence data centers.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to you listening right now, that combination probably sounds completely contradictory.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got oil and gas tech on one side, and then clean energy and AI on the other.
Yeah.
But the data we're looking at proves this is no longer some, niche 2035 pipe dream. It is a reality happening right now.
Yeah.
And if you thought the clean energy transition was just this story about rolling out more solar panels and building bigger lithium-ion batteries, this deep dive is going to completely rewire how you see the future of the power grid.
Yeah. To really understand the shift, we have to look at the mechanics of what actually changed between, say, 2024 and 2026. Because, the Earth's geology didn't suddenly shift.
Right, we didn't just get new thermal geysers popping up in the American Midwest.
Exactly. What changed were the tools we use to access the heat that is already there. Deep underground, literally everywhere on the planet.
Right, because if you drill down far enough, the Earth's crust is hot no matter where you're standing.
Right.
The historical method, what we call hydrothermal, geothermal, that relied on finding a natural underground reservoir of hot water or steam. You drill a well, bring that fluid up, spin a turbine, generate electricity.
Diesels in California, yeah.
Yeah, but that's a geographic anomaly. Now, we have something called enhanced geothermal systems, or EGS, which is basically us saying, we're tired of looking for the natural hot springs, so we're just going to engineer our own.
And the engineering leap there is just substantial. I mean, instead of searching for naturally occurring hot water, drilling teams push down 2 to 4 kilometers into hot, dry rock.
Wow, 2 to 4 kilometers.
Yeah, and down at that depth, you're dealing with rock temperatures between like 150 and 250 degrees Celsius.
That is incredibly hot.
It is. And the process involves drilling an injection well and a production well, and then they use high-pressure water to create this network of fractures in the rock.
Wait, hang on. I need to stop you there.
Sure.
I'm looking at these mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pumping high-pressure fluid underground to fracture rock. You're describing fracking.
Right.
How is this not just some, greenwashed rebrand of the shale oil boom?
Well, the industry faces that exact skepticism constantly, and looking impartially at the mechanics is really the only way to address it because, yes, EGS does employ hydraulic fracturing techniques, which is the underlying technology developed during the shale oil and gas revolution, but there are fundamental structural differences in the application.
Okay, like what?
So when you fracture shale for oil and gas, the goal is to permanently break open a rock formation to extract trapped hydrocarbons, right? You bring the fossil fuels up, and eventually that well runs dry.
Right, it depletes.
Exactly. But geothermal fracturing, it doesn't extract anything from the rock itself. The whole goal is simply to create a connected pathway.
Like a massive heat exchanger underground.
Exactly, a subterranean heat exchanger between two wells just so you can circulate water. There are 0 hydrocarbons produced. The chemical makeup of the fluid is entirely different, and it's designed as a closed-loop flow for decades.
Okay, I hear you. But even with those differences, the physical act of cracking rock kilometers underground, it carries risks.
It does.
The source material here highlights this 2017 incident in Pohang, South Korea, where an EGS project actually triggered a magnitude 5.5 earthquake.
Yeah, that was a significant event.
That's massive. And the project was permanently shut down. So if that 2017 Pohang earthquake proved that fracturing rock carries, unacceptable risks in densely populated areas, how is a company like Eavor managing to build a project right now in the middle of Germany?
Well, the distinction lies in the evolution of the tech and the specific method they're using. So for modern EGS projects, the engineering practice has evolved to rely on really strict seismic monitoring.
Like the traffic light protocols.
Exactly. They use much smaller hydraulic stimulation volumes, and they adjust the pressure in real time based on microseismic feedback. But you're right, for a densely populated area like Geretsried in Germany, the risk of induced seismicity from fracturing is just a non-starter.
They just won't allow it.
Right. And that's why Eavor isn't using EGS at all. They're using an alternative called closed-loop geothermal.
Okay, so for Evor's closed-loop approach, if I'm understanding the notes correctly, they aren't fracturing the rock to let water flow through it at all.
Correct.
They drill vertical wells connected by these long horizontal laterals to form a completely sealed underground pipe network.
Right.
And then they circulate a working fluid through that sealed pipe, and it picks up heat purely through simple conduction from the surrounding hot rock. I mean, it's basically like burying a giant subterranean radiator.
The radiator analogy captures the physics perfectly. Because the system is entirely sealed, there is zero injection of fluid into the rock formation itself.
Which completely mitigates the earthquake risk.
Exactly. You don't need fracturing permits. Now, the trade-off is efficiency, right? Closed-loop systems extract less heat per well than EGS.
Because conduction through a pipe wall just transfers less thermal energy than flowing water directly through fractured superheated rock.
Exactly. But in regulatory environments where subsurface risks are highly scrutinized, like Germany, it's really the only viable path forward.
So the technology works. We can fracture granite to create reservoirs, or we can build sealed subterranean radiators.
Yeah.
But proving something in a science experiment doesn't just automatically make it a multi-gigawatt commercial industry.
Oh, not all.
Which brings us to the economic miracle of the last few years. The reason this became commercially viable practically overnight is that geothermal inherited a massive multi-billion-dollar gift from the oil and gas sector.
Yeah, the historical bottleneck for geothermal was always just the prohibitive cost of drilling deep into really hard crystalline rock.
It's expensive.
Very. But between roughly 2005 and 2020, the oil and gas industry spent 15 years and billions of dollars driving shale drilling costs down this incredibly aggressive learning curve.
I mean, wells that historically took 60 days to drill were suddenly being completed in, 15 days?
Exactly. And geothermal companies simply inherited all of that research and development for free.
Wow.
The massive drilling rigs, the specialized mud circulation systems, the heavy-duty drill bits, the experienced crews, they're identical.
Yeah, the numbers in this research notebook are just staggering. Let's look at Fervo Energy. When they drilled their first commercial EGS wells for Project Red in Nevada back in 2022, drilling costs were this massive hurdle.
Right.
But by 2024, just 2 years later, they reported a 70% reduction in drilling cost per well.
It's unheard of.
But what's really compelling is the how. I mean, it wasn't just drilling faster. They adapted multi-well pad drilling, which is a classic shale technique.
Where you drill multiple wells from one surface location.
Yeah, saving massive amounts of time on rig mobilization. And they integrated real-time fiber optic monitoring.
Right, and the fiber optics are just a game changer for navigating that crystalline rock. I mean, they run a fiber optic cable down the well bore while they're actually drilling.
While the drill is going.
Yeah, and by firing lasers down that glass cable, they can analyze the light scattering to detect microscopic acoustic and temperature changes.
So it turns the entire well bore into a massive sensor.
Exactly. The drillers can literally hear the rock fracturing. They monitor the exact temperature profiles in real time, which lets them optimize the well trajectory on the fly.
Which means they avoid destroying multi-million-dollar drill bits in the harsh granite.
Precisely.
Because of these mechanical leaps, I mean, the Department of Energy's enhanced geothermal shot target, which was hoping to get costs down to $45 per megawatt hour by 2035, that suddenly looks conservative rather than aspirational.
Oh, yeah.
We have analysts who price geothermal using 2015 cost assumptions, basically discovering their economic models are systematically broken today.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see the geographic shift too. Because when you talk about the rapid scaling of oil field technology, you are invariably talking about Texas.
Texas, right.
Texas happens to sit on fantastic hot rock geology, particularly deep beneath the Permian Basin, but more importantly, it holds the absolute monopoly on the necessary workforce and service infrastructure.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The U.S. oil and gas industry employs roughly 300,000 drilling and completion workers.
Right.
Is this the ultimate swords to plowshares moment for the energy transition? I mean, instead of displacing the fossil fuel workforce and forcing them through years of, agonizing green jobs retraining programs, the energy transition is actively relying on them.
Yes, exactly.
They are literally the only people uniquely qualified to build out this massive chunk of the clean grid.
It directly solves one of the most stubborn socioeconomic hurdles of the transition. A typical narrative, it requires a massive retraining lag.
Right. A coal miner doesn't become an offshore wind turbine technician overnight.
Exactly. But here, a directional driller who spent 10 years steering drill bits through Texas shale is instantly a directional driller for geothermal.
Wow.
Companies are hiring completion engineers straight out of legacy fossil fuel basins and putting them directly to work. Texas can spin up a geothermal project without the 18-month supply chain delays we see elsewhere.
Because the service infrastructure, companies like SLB and Halliburton, they're already sitting there.
Fully equipped and ready to deploy.
Okay, so we have the technology, we have plummeting drilling costs, we have this ready-made army of roughnecks and directional drillers, but nobody builds multi-gigawatt power plants on speculation, right?
Oh, definitely not.
You don't sink drill bits into granite unless someone with incredibly deep pockets is writing a check to buy that power.
Right.
And this brings us to the demand shock. The hyperscale artificial intelligence data center.
Yeah, without the explosion of generative AI, geothermal might still be fighting for marginal grid connections. But a hyperscale AI training cluster, the massive server farms required to train the next generation of frontier models, that represents a power load of 100 to 500 megawatts.
That is huge. To put that in perspective, 500 megawatts is enough to power a medium-sized city.
Exactly. And crucially, an AI cluster runs at near constant peak power, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right. And the hyperscalers basically ran headfirst into the reality of capacity factors.
Right.
Because you can build a 100-megawatt solar farm, sure, but at a 20 to 28% capacity factor.
Yeah.
It's virtually useless for an AI cluster that demands a constant 100-megawatt draw at 2 a.m. in January.
Right. The sun isn't shining.
Wind comes in a bit higher, like around 35 to 45%. But you still can't pause a billion-dollar AI training run just because the wind stopped blowing.
No, you can't.
Geothermal, however, boasts a capacity factor of 90% or higher. It's firm base load power.
And that structural reality completely changes the valuation of the power. 1 megawatt hour of geothermal is worth exponentially more to a data center operator than 2 megawatt hours of solar simply because of its reliability.
Right.
Tech giants like Google, Microsoft, Meta, they made highly public, ironclad commitments to run their operations on 247 carbon-free energy well before the AI boom tripled or quintupled their power demands.
So they basically boxed themselves into a corner?
They did.
They need clean, firm power, and they need it yesterday.
Yeah.
This is why the geothermal pipeline is suddenly flooded with these massive corporate power purchase agreements, or PPAs.
Yeah, just look at Fervo's Cape Station in Utah.
Right, that's the benchmark. It's a 400-megawatt project, phasing in between 2026 and 2028, pricing power in the low $80 per megawatt hour.
Which is very competitive.
But then you look at Google signing a 3.5 gigawatt framework deal with Fervo. 3.5 gigawatts.
It's massive.
That's the equivalent of 3 major nuclear reactors.
And the mechanism of that framework deal is vital to understand because Google isn't just agreeing to buy power once a plant is built. By signing a massive guaranteed framework, they're acting almost like venture capitalists.
Providing bankability.
Yes. They're giving Fervo the bankability required to go to Wall Street, secure billion-dollar construction loans at favorable interest rates, and really force the mass market supply chain into existence.
Meanwhile, Meta is deploying capital in a slightly different direction, right? They signed a 150-megawatt deal with Sage Geosystems for pumped geothermal storage.
Yeah, this is a fascinating approach.
If I'm tracking the physics on this one, Sage isn't just continuously pulling heat out of the ground. They're utilizing the duck curve of the modern grid.
Right.
Like at noon, when solar panels are flooding the grid with cheap excess electricity, Sage uses that power to drive massive pumps. They force water down into a subterranean hot rock vault and balloon the fractures.
Yes.
And they hold it there under immense pressure, like a thermal spring coiled tight. Then at 8 p.m., when the sun goes down and the grid is starving for power, they open the valve.
Right, and the physical weight of the Earth crushes the water back out.
Superheated to spin a turbine. It's effectively turning the Earth's crust into a colossal, long-duration battery.
And the elegance of the Sage approach is how it leverages existing grid imbalances. You aren't just generating baseload power, you're actively absorbing the volatility of renewable energy and dispatching it exactly when it's most valuable.
So what does this all mean? We see Google and Meta throwing billions at EGS and pumped geothermal storage. But I have to ask the obvious question. If these tech giants just need massive amounts of firm, 247 clean power,
Why not nuclear?
exactly, why don't they just use nuclear?
Well, this raises an important point about the brutal reality of deployment timelines. I mean, nuclear is a phenomenal source of firm, carbon-free power, and the hyperscalers are absolutely buying what they can get their hands on.
Right, we saw Microsoft negotiate to restart a reactor at 3 Mile Island, and Amazon secured power from the Susquehanna nuclear plant.
True. But those are existing plants. They aren't adding net new capacity to the grid. They're just rerouting what's there to a server farm.
Ah,
And that's the trap. Because those are existing assets, plant owners know the tech giants are desperate, which results in drastic price markups. And adding nuclear capacity is incredibly sluggish.
how slow are we talking?
Building a traditional large-scale nuclear reactor takes 10 to 15 years.
No.
You face massive regulatory hurdles from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, extreme construction cost risks, intense local opposition.
But what about small modular reactors? I mean, SMRs are constantly pitched as the plug-and-play future of nuclear power.
The tech giants have certainly signed letters of intent for SMRs, attempting to stimulate that market as well. But look, as of 2026, the regulatory and manufacturing supply chains for SMRs are still in their infancy in the U.S.
Really?
Yeah, a realistic timeline for their first meaningful scaled commercial deployment is like 2030 to 2032.
And the AI arms race cannot wait until 2032.
No.
Every month, a company delays training a new model, they lose ground.
Exactly why geothermal is winning the capital allocation race right now. Geothermal projects deploy in 3 to 5 years. You sign a framework agreement today, you have steel in the ground next year, and you have firm power lighting up your servers by 2029. The hyperscalers are effectively funding geothermal's commercial scale-up today in the exact same manner Tesla funded gigafactories for lithium-ion batteries in the 2010s.
That makes so much sense.
They are the financial anchor dragging a promising technology into relentless mass production.
So we are literally watching an entire infrastructure pivot happen in real time. Let's bring this all together for you listening. Why should you care about this? I mean, why does this matter to your everyday understanding of where the broader economy is heading? For years, whenever we talked about a fully decarbonized grid, geothermal was just dismissed.
Yeah, it was a footnote.
A footnote in the climate reports.
Yeah.
A geographic curiosity restricted to places like Iceland.
But the data within this research notebook proves that era is definitively over. Geothermal is a 2026 to 2028 commercial reality. It is happening right now beneath our feet, completely reshaping the timeline for global industrial decarbonization.
So, to summarize the incredible synthesis we've unpacked today, the precision drilling technology perfected by the oil and gas industry over the last 15 years has finally unlocked the deep heat of the Earth's crust.
Right.
The existing fossil fuel workforce, the roughnecks, the mud engineers, the directional drillers, they're the ones actually building this new infrastructure. And our sudden, insatiable global demand for artificial intelligence is writing the checks to make it all happen.
It is a remarkable alignment of economic incentives. You have aggressive technology transfer from a legacy extractive industry applied by that legacy workforce, fully funded by the most future-facing, capital-rich industry on the planet.
Yeah.
And together, they are solving one of the most stubborn physics problems in clean energy: how to keep the grid energized when the wind stops blowing and the sun goes down.
It really leaves me with one final mind-expanding thought for you to ponder. If AI's desperate need for 247 power is the true catalyst here, and enhanced geothermal systems allow us to drill down and tap into the Earth's heat almost anywhere on the planet, will the tech giants of the 2030s even bother connecting to the public power grid anymore?
Oh, wow.
I mean, picture this. Massive Self-contained AI data center cities built in the absolute middle of nowhere. No transmission lines crossing state borders, no reliance on the local utility, and zero grid interconnection queues.
Was isolated.
Yeah, just a trillion-dollar intelligence cluster sitting directly on top of its own private geothermal well pads. Entirely off-grid, completely self-sustaining, carbon-free brains running the future.
It completely detaches energy strategy from geography. The paradigm shifts from where can we find power to we will simply build the power exactly where we want the data center.
It really does. It turns out that exclusive geothermal VIP club doesn't exist anymore. The bouncer is gone, the doors have been blown wide open, and everyone is invited to the party. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, and we'll see you next time.